Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with AI Edge Promotions. Today, we have a special guest, Dr. J. That's what we call him here. You can also find Dr. J at southbaychiro.com. Southbaychiro.com. Today, we're going to be talking about neuropathy. Yes, what is neuropathy and what is neuropathy not? The cool thing about Dr. J, he believes in the body's natural ability to heal itself and sees himself as a facilitator in the healing process. The cool thing about Dr. J, he is committed to helping your body heal and achieve a greater sense of wellness through holistic and alternative and conservative means. In 2013, Dr. J had about of a spinal cancer, which is very interesting. Him and I were talking a little bit about that today, and underwent aggressive surgery to help rid of his body of the disease. It took him over 1 year, guys, 1 year to rehab his back and return to practicing. So he understands the trials of his patients as they work through their pain. How many of you out there are struggling with pain? Have maybe struggled with cancer, then trying to get back on track, struggling with neuropathy. You feel like every doctor's told you they couldn't help you. Now, here's the cool thing. Since beginning his practice, Dr. J has won several awards, including the Consumer Business Review's Chiropractor of the Year in 1996 and 97 and 2001. And the kicker, guys, and the Ultimate Health Chiropractic Business Owner from 1995 to 2006. Here at South Bay Wellness Center and Chiropractic, Dr. J and his dedicated team are committed to treating every patient as they would their own family. So guys, make sure that you're out there, and gals, make sure you go to southbaychiro.com. Dr. J has a passion to helping people. And if you have neuropathy, you're going to want to listen to this and make sure you send it to your friends, because if we can have one video that can help one person and help change one person's life, that's what it's about in this life. And thank you so much, Dr. J, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So maybe just tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you got into, chiropractic and neuropathy and what, and then from there we'll go to what is neuropathy really and what it's not.
Okay, well, I appreciate for having me. So one of the biggest things that I should say about myself is I'm a graduate from chiropractic school in 1993, and then worked 2 years of multidisciplinary clinic for other doctors, and then open up my own business on 1995 until today. I would say more than 35 years or so being in chiropractic business and chiropractic world, in more than 50,000 patients throughout my years being as a chiropractor. And I always thought that obviously we in United States, chiropractic is considered as a third world healthcare because we don't do medication, injection, or surgery. And there are a lot of controversy about how things go and why chiropractors are successful versus why not to do injection, why not to do medication. And then as the time goes by, even though the publicity comes in and chiropractic doesn't work, people are start seeing more benefit from it, and then people come toward chiropractic more. But also chiropractic is evolving. We do a lot of new stuff, that new technology we used. And one of the biggest things for me was as I go through it, and initially I always had some type of therapy, new technology that comes in on the healthcare industry, which does have no side effect and will improve people's health, to bring it to my practice and use it for people. And that came upon more aggressively after my own struggle with cancer, what I have. And initially, funny, with a lot of things is I thought doctors would know what exactly to do for aggressive tumor, cancer, whatever it is. And when I came into the point, the type of tumor I had was one of those things they said rare in the United States or in the world, and only 170,000 people in the world has it. And then the funny part, I was in Kaiser, and there almost about 10 other people had the same cancer. But all in all, is it take me through the junction of seeing how the healthcare system works and what they do for you and what you can do for yourself. And after the surgery, I had severe atrophy, muscle atrophy, which required 24-hour care. And in a way, they were telling me that, maybe hang it up and go become a disabled and you no longer be back. So at that point, with the help of others and myself, we started doing some water therapy, weightlifting, and what I do in the practice. And it took me 4 months to get myself back on track and be back full time into the practice. Since then, I start realizing that there are a lot of things that the norm of medicine just basically became basically dead to it because they don't have a solution and they just handed out the medication. One of the biggest issues are neuropathy. What's the neuropathy? Is a nerve damage. Is your nerve cells are dying, and in most of the time, doctor believes you can't never basically regenerate the nerve cells. And what happened? We have noticed that when we started the neuropathy treatment in our practice, which was almost now about 13 years. And we started realizing maybe they're right. Maybe we cannot in sales, even though I have proved myself on my own was the opposite way. We start bringing patients to when we started treatment, we started noticing, oh my God, the tremendous change on the people, how the people, they come to our office with wheelchair, they have the help of others to be able to move. And then within 2 or 3 months later, they drove into our office, actually literally get back on driving. Getting back to neuropathy, nerve damage. There any reason for neuropathy? There are 200 different reasons. There's diabetic neuropathy. There's side effect of medication, side effect of chemotherapy, side effect of cancer. Now lately we have a what they call a long COVID, so which can cause also neuropathy. So there are some the 200 different reasons, and then also have something called idiopathic neuropathy, which they really don't know what causes the neuropathy, but it's a damage to the nerve cells. What is the why the damage to the nerve cell? Because for simple reason to say is when your nerve cell loses its blood supply and oxygen supply, they die. And when they die is then you don't feel the basically the senses that your nerve has. And what's the most things we do in our practice is what they call peripheral neuropathy, which is nerve cells in the bottom of your feet or hands that dies, and in very common in diabetic neuropathies. And as the nerve cell dies, obviously you can't feel your legs and your feet, and you lose balance. And then you have, beside having tingling, numbness, burning, sometimes people say feel sensation of awkward sensation like the bricks and glass on the bottom of your feet. Then they start losing the balance and then falling and breaking bones. And then in case of diabetic, a lot more. So sometimes people ended up with gangria and amputation of the legs. So that's what the neuropathy is about.
Can neuropathy be reversed whatsoever?
Again, it was a mystery for me also too when we started this. When we started as a part of the group of 340 doctors around the United States, we were part of the group that they started this process. And initially, I thought maybe medical doctors are right. Maybe we cannot bring cell back. But as we uses these equipments to start using it on the people, we start noticing the difference. And truly is we test the nerve for the different sensations such as heat, cold, light touch, vibration, things. And we see within a month or within 3 months, 4 months, we see tremendous change. So literally the sensations comes back. And that's the important of it. So reality is, yes, we can't reverse that. Yes, we can bring the sensation back. And to tell you the truth, based on some of the patients' comment back after 2 or 3 months being under care, they say they save us their life because they thought they're never going to be able to get back on a normal life.
Amazing. So it's interesting because I've heard a lot of doctors that say that neuropathy cannot be reversed once it's already damaged, that it cannot, that the cells can't heal back. But what I hear you saying is we're starting to see cells that are starting to come back to life with some of the properties that you guys are using to bring those back. Can you maybe discuss maybe some ideas of maybe a story that you had with somebody in your office or something that you used that you started noticing that was working to bring cells back?
So biggest thing is this one is first we see, yes, is that the neuropathy comes back. But biggest number one thing is the correct diagnosis, because a lot of time any type of have a patient that they do have tingling numbness down the arms and hands, automatically became diagnosed by neuropathy, and they will give them gabapentin, Lyrica, or the same medication for nerve pain. Initially, when we bring the patient in, we test them not only for the nerve testing, but we also take a look at a joint above and below, what can cause, other reason can cause that tingling, numbness, sensation. And then in some cases, we ended up in having a sometimes patient having a severe disc injury to the neck, lower back that causes with this. And then that's not an neuropathy. That's what they call radiculopathy, which means the nerve damage comes from the spinal cord. Just remember, one of the things I would say is the peripheral neuropathy is the nerve damage is outside of the extremities. So if you have a nerve damage within the spinal cord, unfortunately, this treatment that we offer may not work, but then if you do the extremities, which is almost 20 million American has dealing with the symptoms, we can definitely has reverse it and gets it better. What do we do for the treatments? Are we using two modalities, which is number one is light infrared light, which is assures that increase blood supply to the nerve cell. And then another equipment we use called Rebuilder, which is also been shown on the research, shown that it basically stimulates the nerve cells, so waking up the nerves. Meanwhile, we also use some nutrition, which is definitely for nerves, B complexes, and some anti-inflammatory, and up to helps to basically promote the nerve healing. And with some of the therapy we do, such as cold laser and vibration panel, we helps the helping the healing process become more faster. Having the equipment with the patient at home and repeating the same therapy twice a day at home every day for 7 days a week for the first month or two, that helps the healing a lot faster than just walking through our office and to get the treatment done. But this way, we get the patient to do the treatment at home on their convenient of their home, and we test them each time they come to the office to make sure the improvement is there. I would tell you is this one again is now is about 13 years we've been doing. We have so many successful stories. Some of the stories I would say one of the gal that came to my office at the time when they had neuropathy, she had to stay home, and her husband also had to stay home to take care of her because she had several falls and she could not walk, and she was
Wow.
kind of in jail of her own home because she couldn't get out of the house because she can't walk properly, and her husband has to stay home. So when they started treatment, within a month, she stopped using the walker, and within the 3 months, she actually drove to our house, to our office. And
Wow.
then I have a review, and also I have a video testimonial from her, which was funny because her husband came to me and he said, "You not only saved her life, you also give me freedom because now I don't have to stay home to take care of my wife. She can do her own things, and I am now free that I can get out do my own things." So it's a change in the life for not only for the person but also people around them. And other things I would tell you, these are memories that I never forget. Officers has been fight in two of the war we had, and he became police officers now after 25 years or service. He's to the point that he cannot feel his legs, and he's literally
Wow.
all he does is staying at home, drinking alcohol, and he's to the point that he's becoming depressed, and he literally had thought of suicide and stuff because he cannot handle. So this is the guy also we have also testimonial from. Within 2.5 months later, the guy is actually literally, this is what he told me. He's actually starting building up a second home behind his house in
Wow.
Santa Cruz Mountain for his son. So these are changing lives that we cannot imagine. And I'm not saying that we did something, we helped the patient to find their way to find the healing process. And then this healing process works very well, and we see it day after day. And I mean, we all have a choice. We can choosing to accept what we have, continue taking the medication, never see an improvement, just hoping to stay alive and make it another day, or figuring out head on and finding out the right treatment and go at it and help ourselves.
Amazing. Is it with the medication that a lot of people are taking, do they normally get off the medication, or are they on the medication normally while they're with you while they're doing the neuropathy? How would that look like in your office?
Biggest things for me is this one is that obviously I don't prescribe medication and don't recommend medication, but I'm not going to take the medication and start telling the patient don't take their medication. So especially people when being in gabapentin, Lyrica for a long time, you cannot just suddenly quit taking those medication because of the side effect of the medication. So, but is one of the things I have noticed that it didn't matter. Almost 99% of people walk to our office with some type of neuropathy or nerve pain. They're all being given gabapentin,
Right.
which is there's not really a whole lot of research to say it is 100% effective. And then it's the funny part that we talked to a lot of people. They say I asked them to see, do you feel any difference? And most of them say, not really, but I'm gone from 300 milligram of per day to 2,500 milligram a day. And then, and as we know, prolonged taking of gabapentin and sudden stoppage can cause a seizure. So without understanding is this one, and my suggestion to every patient is this one, if you trying this treatment, as you improve with hopefully consulting with your own primary care, whoever prescribed the medication, is slowly as you improve is slowly get off of medication and hopefully to the point that you don't need the medication. And I think that would be the most reasonable way to do it is if you as you go through the treatment, as you feel improved, you start taking it because most of the time these people taking these medications are being taking it for a long time. I mean, funny part about it is most of them when I talk to, they don't see no changes. They see some of them says, I feel foggy and I feel more disabled by taking the medication. It's not all the time for all the patient, but that's what we hear and we see all the time between patient we saw in our practice. So again, our hope is to improvement. Our hope is to get the nerve cell back to full function. And with that, as the time goes by, as you feel better, you slowly can talk to your primary and or this slowly get off of those medications. So hopefully you don't need to get back to the medication again.
Interesting. Gavin Petton's always a go-to. And I'm just thinking if I was a doctor knowing that I'm giving something to someone that could give them a stroke, I'd feel bad. I'm not putting other doctors and putting the light on them, but it just doesn't make sense to my brain. Common sense. I would feel horrible. It just doesn't. It's almost like giving a patch, and then when it
So
wears off, you give it a higher dose. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So one of the biggest things, even with my own surgeries, what I went through, and suddenly I remember there were days that I was in a hospital, 24-hour care, and I was in a wheelchair and couldn't sleep. And then just strolling through through the hallway of the hospitals, and then one nurse was saying, "What are you doing in the middle of the night? You sit in the wheelchair and walk around." I said, "I can't sleep. I'm just figuring out what can I do and how can I do to get myself off of this because I cannot survive like this." So to me is a lot of time patients, if they don't know any other reason or if they don't know any other way, they give up. This is what I am. This is how I'm going to be. The doctors are supposed to be practicing, which means we as a doctors were basically promised or swear by that we do whatever we can do for our patient. Unfortunately, the way the system goes in United States, every doctors have to be worried about malpractice, what's the norm on medicine is. So they open up the book as soon as you see the nerve damage, and as soon as you see that's what the norm tell them to do. And unfortunately, we are taking away critical thinking. We're taking away doctors are thinking about finding the right way for treating because of reason of malpractice, reason of out of norm, which is they get discriminated by health insurance, pharmaceuticals, and all of the stuff. So I'm not totally against the medical doctors or medication. I think there are very, very fine doctors, and sometimes medication may be the only solution. But all I'm saying to do is that we need to find a way. Is this idea in this country that every doctor have to see you as soon as they do whatever they can, and then if doesn't work, they move you along through the system from one doctor to another doctor until to figure out this. To me, is crazy. We as a doctors need to find out if you accept to treat a patient, you need to find out what causes that patient's symptoms and figure out what we can do to help the patient. It may not be you, what your skill is, maybe somebody else is, but finding the way for the patient because they trust us and they want us to figure out what we can do to help them. And that's why I'm saying if you give a medication to someone and it's not working and continue, we need to figure something else. We can't continue like this because now you see the addictions of the people with the medication. 37 people die from taking a medication that are addicted to. Opioid epidemic become very, very high in the United States just because we're prescribing so many medication for a lot of wrong reasons.
Wow. What would you say the reason is, or I wouldn't say the reason. What would you say what we've gotten away from? I've noticed that before I would see a doctor, he'd spend time with me. He'd really go deep and, maybe 20 years ago. And now it's just seems like even if I went in recently and they're like, I'll just take this pill. This will make you feel better. And I'm like, I feel like it's changed. We've gotten away. I feel like we were getting towards more pills than how can we find the root of the cause? I don't see that really anymore. I see, here's a pill. Now, that's not all doctors. I'm saying that I'm seeing in when I say big box doctors, I'm talking when you go to the hospital, I see a lot more pills that are giving driven instead of saying, well, let's find the root of the cause, Mark, so that we can not put a patch over it, but let's get to the root of it to heal it. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I understand that. So this is always battle that for me, I hear people they're not in the healthcare system and say, "Oh, we don't want to have a healthcare system that be specific, be cheap, or other countries that everybody has a healthcare system, but their healthcare system is owned by government, so they don't get everything. We have the best healthcare. Listen, our healthcare system is 49 in the world. We're not number one. We're not number two. We're 49th in the world. There are third world countries healthcare that are much better than what we do in this country. Now we hear it all the time. We're the best. We create the best things and stuff, but we take away all the power off of doctor for thinking and doing the right things for their patient just because I think is profit. Profit would deliver what the healthcare system is. And I'm sorry, but I'm to the guy that I believe healthcare system should be non-profitable. We as a doctor, if you become a doctor, you decide to become a doctor. You didn't decide to become a hedge fund manager, or you didn't decide to become the best engineer, but as bank in the world. We decided to come healthcare to help people. And we need those doctors that they're in it for helping others. Unfortunately, the system's set up. By the time the doctors graduated, they have all the school loans and stuff, and they want to make the decent living. They became part of the system. The system is you prescribe my medication, you do whatever we say to do, and you get paid on it, and then based upon that, and then now they're controlling how many hours you have to spend with the patient. There was this video says that doctor will complain and stuff if I spend 10, 15, 20 minutes with the patient, I get less paid if I just see the patient in 2 minutes, write in prescription. Doctors do make money off of procedures. They don't make money off of spending the time with you. Now, with this idea of AI coming to the pictures, we're going to see this becoming a lot worse because now they're taking away interaction of the doctor with the patient. Now we're going to be to the point that calling our healthcare system and then asking them what should I do, and then AI will make a decision of what you should do based upon all the history you have, and that's scary. That's
it's scary.
scary. And then you know what I was telling my son is actually graduating from San Diego State, and he's going to go become a chiropractor. And then I was telling my son, and says, you know what? I would tell you is this one. We as a chiropractor or any healthcare system or any healthcare provider that provide a one-on-one, hands-on, in dealing with the patient are the people that are the practitioners going to be more successful than anybody else in future, because the healthcare system we currently have is taking away day by day interaction between the providers and the patient. And that's why I highly, highly recommend people to start thinking about healthcare should be non-profitable. And that's what I think that will help us to for a better future in the healthcare.
Well, that's amazing. It's interesting how we've become that fast generation. You mentioned the word thinking. We're taking away critical thinking and logic. And common sense is becoming it's becoming a rarity these days. If I take this pill, how's this going to make me feel? I'll get a little personal here. So I was at the doctor's a few years ago. I was fighting for my son. He was having a problem. Yeah, just keeping food down and stuff like that. And they said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to help him eat more so he can gain more weight. And I was okay with that at first. But when I started looking at all the side effects of the pills they were giving him, one of the pills were stroke, possible stroke. And then the other one was, loss of breath. It was just really horrible. It was like one of those infomercials where you have somebody running and saying, take this pill, it'll give you more energy. Then at the end, it was like, it talked real quick. Oh, this could give you a heart attack or diarrhea of the mouth or whatever. You know how they do it at the end. And it was interesting when I said to the doctor, I go, would you give this to your own child? He couldn't answer me. He wouldn't answer me. And I go, but you want to give it to my child? I go, well, we're going to just give him just a little bit and it'll be fine. I go, but you don't know that for sure. Can't we go more a natural route? Long story short, that didn't really work out too well in that conversation. But my point is that a lot of these big box doctors are signed to a contract and they have to abide by that. And I understand that. I agree with rules, if you're going to work for a company, but it takes out the thinking, the critical thinking, and those types of practices are created to control, not for you to think. They actually want you to sign so you don't think and just do. And that's why I love doctors like yourself that's willing to go over and beyond and saying, you know what? There's got to be a better way. Let's figure it out. Let's get together with hundreds of doctors. What can we do? And that's the passion that AI can't take away. Everybody's, scared about AI. Yeah, you can be scared about AI, whatever, it doesn't matter. But, let's be real. You get on the phone call with an AI system. Yes, they do work good for certain things, booking appointments. That's great, but not for help from a doctor, an AI doctor. I mean, that's scary.
It is. And then if you think about it, and I have talked to several doctors, is some of the big chain hospitals or healthcare system, they are taping, actually recognizing voice for their doctors and their nurses. So using their voices to generate AI and then use that for the patient not to feel there's a strange person to talk in the end. And I don't want to scare people. I think humanities find their way to deal with these new things coming up our way. But again, healthcare system should stay off. If we are making a profit off of your health, guess what? We're going to keep you unhealthy until we keep the business running and we'll make more money. That's why we can't get any healthcare system or healthcare reform in this country, is because it's all about money. How we can make money while we can keep people healthy. If people stay healthy, there's no profit into it. We just need to keep people moving along with the system. Again, I don't think we have so many dedicated medical doctors, specialists, and doctors. They really care for their patient. And then in some point, I 100% agree with some doctors to do the surgery or medication. That
Yes.
the idea of the taking away the power of the doctors for critical thinking with their education, what they teach them, to start thinking and coming up with the new ideas and finding out the better way to treat without just handing out medication. 60% of a lot of surgeries done in the United States are, according to the data, is not necessary. They do it because of this. Sometimes patients come to me and say, well, doctor, they told me only surgery. That's the surgery. I said, you go to orthopedic surgeon. If, most of the time, that's what they do. They do surgery. They don't suggest some type of remedy or other things. Just because of how they make money. So if the doctors are to the point and they make their money no matter what, and their purpose become only to healing patient. If we reward the doctors for the good job or how many time they get their patient better and healthier, I think that should get rewarded, not the people that they keep the patient continuously being under care for the rest of their life. You see what I'm saying? So in that regard, is I give you one example. When I went through my finding out what I need to do for my tumor that I have inside of my spinal cord, I interviewed 4 doctors to make a decision which doctors. I did my own research, and as doctors, I could understand most of them, and I find out that chemo radiation wouldn't have a devastating effect for me. I would be paralyzed right away. And then the only option was the surgery, which was 70%. But the first 3 doctor I went to, they really graduated, and some of them graduated from Stanford, very named hospitals. They look at me, they didn't even ask me what I feels and stuff. They said, okay, you either after the surgery, you either be paralyzed, breathing machine, or you be worse than what you are today, and then walk out the door. That's why I wanted to have a second opinion.
Right.
Finally, I saw one doctor. His name was Alan Efron. I remember in Redwood City, Kaiser Hospitals. He walked through the door, shake my hand, looked through my eyes, and says, I read your files. I know what you went through, but I've been doing a brain surgery for 20 years, and I did not have, in 20 years, did not have anybody paralyzed or breathing machine. And I said, I
That
want you as a doctor.
that's it
That's
right
the confidence. That means this guy been through it. And I read his reviews off of the doctors. He was this. This guy came to my bed before, middle of the surgery, and the end of the surgery, and every single way he was with me. And after my surgery, Kaiser did not have any rehab center closer to my home. I had to travel 40 miles away to go get a rehab. He said, Jay, stay in the hospital until that rehab center is full. Therefore, they force us to send you to somewhere closer to home. He did that for me for 2 days until I get the place that closer to the home so I can be closer to my family to be able to get the rehab. That's a dedication for the doctors. Was he rewarded for that? I'm grateful for that doctors, medical doctors, neurosurgeon, but he care. And that's what is all about. You need to be passionate about what you do. It doesn't matter what you do, but healthcare system need passionate people. And with having doctors coming out of their school with half a million, $1 million student loan and push up by they can't survive on their own, they have to work for the big corporation, and a corporation manages and tell them what they have to do, how they have to do it. We're taking away the power of the doctors, the practice of the doctor. So that's I'm advocate. So many times I
wow
wanted to get out and say it loud in the world that we need to change this healthcare system in the United States. A lot of people are dying, a lot of people are changing. We need to make sure, give it more authority to the doctor to do their critical thinking, figure out the way to help the patient.
how do you think we do that though? Like how do you think that we ha- I believe that one person can make a difference, and then it starts a match like a fire, and then it starts to move off. I mean, how do we do that? I mean, you see people in the streets for like political stuff, but I never see people in the streets for the healthcare, for the doctors. Let the doctors go back to critical thinking. Let's focus on helping people. Let's focus on seeing what we can do to make people's lives better. Do you know what I mean? I think that that could be something that could be huge.
So we say we help people. So let's look at the state of California. The state of California has spent tons of money on the Medi-Cal and supplement for PP. The people needed it. We have people that they don't pay hardly anything, but they wait for to get in the treatment. And we have middle class people that they pay tons of money for their health insurance. And at the end of the day, by the time they get to the hospital with a deductible copay, they hardly left any money to do. So people get scared away from the doctors to do things. And I would say healthcare system in this country right now is, I'll call urgent care. So your healthcare insurance is only good for emergencies. So if you have
Yes.
cancer, if you have heart attack, stroke, which is cost is so high by going to the hospitals. Let's take a look at a different way. Every patient should be evaluated by several doctors, managed by several doctors to figure out what is the cause, what is the best way to treat the patient.
Right.
Not every, so this idea that every patient goes to one doctor, and that doctor does all kinds of tests, and then finally after he made the money, move the patient to another doctor to make money off of them, is wrong. That's how the healthcare system, we do tons of tests for no right reason. If you are like right now, primary cares are basically obsolete because they don't make that much money. The only way they make money if they do procedures. So they take away this. Primary care should be the entryway of the patient to the healthcare system. They should manage the patient's healthcare. They should be able to send the patient whoever they think they give them the best treatment and manage it for them, which means they got to do the thinking. They got to this. But unfortunately, if the doctor cannot make the living off of that and they would be struggling to keep their business, they're not going to do that. They're going to go fall into the same system.
Mhm.
So to me is number one, we have to take away the profitability of a healthcare system. Government subsidizes a lot of money for pharmaceutical to create a new pills and medication. It's not a pharmaceutical. If everybody say, well, we should have a system that makes the profit as much so they can use that profit to do the new technology. It's not true. Government does the most research. Government, our taxes are spending the money for all the research for the new drug, new equipment for the healthcare system.
Mhm.
The profit goes into the healthcare system. When the insurance came in, it was supposed to spend 75% of their money for healthcare and 25% for administrative. Right now, it's opposite. 75% are spent in administrative, only 25% on the healthcare system. So that's how it's screwed up. And it's just because that they have people in lobbyists that they can lobby everything you want. Healthcare system goes the way you want. I would say state of California is one of the biggest things. We spend tons of money. This is the only state we spend money for a lot of people for free healthcare. But again, we're still also give a lot of money to pharmaceuticals and big insurance companies. So it to me is just that some way we're going by the cliff and it falling in the cliff unless somebody gonna come in and change this idea. And as much as I say I'm not a socialist, but I believe healthcare system should be non-profitable. We all should have a healthcare system that we know that we need help. We have some place to go to.
Wow. What would you say to people right now that are listening to this that are maybe in denial because they've been told, they've read on Google that neuropathy can't be reversed, that are in pain, and that they just kind of feel helpless?
Unfortunately, the way it goes is this one. If you give up on yourself, seems like the world give up on you. To me, you have to be proactive. You have to find a way. You have to find a different way. I would say, I tell all my patients, spend 4 to 5 months on conservative care. The care that just doesn't has not to do with medication injection. Set your time limit. Say, I'm gonna spend first initially go through the conservative care, and if it doesn't work, then I go through a what we call Western medicine. At that point, I think neuropathy definitely has, based upon our knowledge, based upon our experience, based upon number of patients we treat, we do can reverse nerve damage as long as it's what we call peripheral neuropathy, as long as not spinal cord injuries. So we can make the change. We see the change over time. And then for patient to look for it, find a place. Number one is the correct diagnosis. Number two is finding the correct treatment. And you have to see the difference. You have to see within 2 or 3 months. You should see the difference between what you have today, and then that's why you can continue with the same treatment you do. And that's my suggestion.
Wow. No, I like that. And so what would it look like? I know that you're in the San Jose area. And what would that look like if somebody were to come into your office and they had neuropathy? Is there like a certain type of protocol that you normally do? How does,
So we created this thing for office. So we made it very, very reasonable price, $49. We give them initial evaluation exam and whatever we need on the first visit. So they come in, if they already have some tests done, bring it with us. We review it and stuff, but we also do our own testing. We do full comprehensive exam. We do 7 point of nerve testing. We test you for the light touch, heat, different sensation that your nerve should have, and we grade it. Then we do a nerve scan, and which is basically see how the nerve flow goes into different extremities. And lastly, if we see there's other issues that causes your neuropathy or radiculopathy, for us to figure out the correct diagnosis. If we need to, we'll do the x-ray. We have a digital x-ray in the office. And then after that, we even in some cases, we do one of the modalities, which is a rebuilder. We try it on you for 20 minutes, and we want to
Oh,
make sure this machine, you feel the difference in this machine, how it works. And then with all of those, we basically make a decision. What you need, what can we do, how long it takes, what you should expect, and what the cost is. Okay, yes, just remember, I'm a private practice. Yes, we wanted to make sure as reasonable as possible, and we do. We provide some payment plan and stuff. For us to stay survive, we have a limited cost that we need to make sure we charge to keep us to stay survive. Because if we go out of business, there's nobody else's to
no,
have to offer you the same treatment. But
exactly.
when we do that, and then I have another thing, I come from my heart. Sometimes I tell the patient, try one or two visits. You don't have to go through the whole system. Try one or two visits, see what the difference is, and then before you make a decision. Our purpose is to make sure patient is fully informed and fully involved with their treatment. Because it's not is partially patient, partially us. It's not all us. We want to make sure patient understand what they're dealing with, how they can help. So we have four different things. Not only we provide them the equipment and the nutrition they need, we also provide them with the website, which we every day we send them a email, which is would help them to what to take nutrition wise, recipe for the food they take, some of the stretches and exercise they can do based upon their condition, and help them to always for us to be there and monitor their progress. We
That's
want to take a look at every point of their life and help them to get through it together.
I love it. Wow. So I love the fact that you're hitting on points that we don't really hear a lot about, especially I'm going to keep it simple, but actually caring and loving what you do. And it seems like, your focus is let's see about how we can get you out of pain, get you moving and enjoying your life. That's what I hear coming out of your mouth. I wish there was more doctors like you like that. I mean, they're very rare these days, and I'm not just saying that, because you're in Hawaii right now. I had to throw that in there. But thank you so much for coming on the show here today. And everyone, I just want to let you know if you're in the San Jose area, um, come check out southbaychiro.com. You can call the number on the screen and get help. You don't have to be in pain. You don't. And just because your doctor is giving you all these pills, let's just be real, guys out there and gals, you're still in pain. And it seems like it's getting worse. And you sometimes feel like you guys are alone. I know. I've had a lot of family that have had to go through this, and they're in a lot of pain. You do not have to be in pain anymore. You want to find a doctor that can help you, that's got a passion to see how they can help you. And do not let money stop you. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Dr. Jay, for being here. I
Appreciate for
appreciate it.
having me. Appreciate for having me, and I appreciate it for at least talking to people that I'm happy to at least put some input in this, helping a little bit of light on the path for a lot of people, as you say, giving up and seeing there's no resolution. I would say this one they always light at the end of the tunnel.
100%. And you guys heard it from the doctor himself. And you have a great day. And internet world, make sure that you share this video because one video can help one person out. He's in the San Jose area. He has people that travels from far away to come see him. I would rather travel far away to come see a doctor that actually cares and it's willing to put time into it. Do you do any Zoom calls before you or anything like that?
We do telehealth, and we do. But one last thing I'm going to add to this is this one. For our neuropathy treatment, because we give you the equipment to use at home, so you don't have to travel that many visits to
Oh,
our office. First visit or two, we want to make sure we done the right diagnosis. You met us. You shake a hand. I look it through your face, and I want to tell you that, listen, we're here to help, and you're not alone. That's what I wanted to see the patient one on one. And after that, you have the equipment. We have as far as 100 miles away come to our office for the same treatment. So
Oh,
having the equipment and the nutrition at home so you can follow through would be good. And I can always phone call away or we can do Zoom to even answer every question you may have.
wow. Thank you so much, doctor. We appreciate you, and you have a blessed day, and everybody out there also.
Thank you.